My wife took $10,000 from my daughter's college fund to pay for her own daughter's vacation and said I should be fine with it. Well, I wasn't. I thought I had done everything right, set up a college fund, built a life rooted in trust. But when I uncovered a betrayal buried deep in what was meant for my daughter's future, my world shifted. The woman I trusted most had crossed a line I never saw coming. Now, I'm forced to face her, and an impossible decision: keep the peace for the sake of my family, or stand by my principles and risk tearing it all apart. This is the story of how everything I believed in was tested: my loyalty, my limits, and my love. When you've been a dad long enough, you learn to swallow your pride, pick your battles, and pretend you're okay for the sake of peace. But sometimes, peace is just a nicer word for silence. And I think I've stayed silent for too long. My name is Nathan, and I'm 46 years old. For as long as I can remember, my life has followed one steady rhythm: my daughter, Emily. She's 18 now, but she's been the heartbeat of my world since the moment I first held her. Her mother passed away when Emily was just 5 years old. Those early years were hard, filled with quiet evenings and sleepless nights. The house always felt too big, too still. But Emily and I made it through. It was just the two of us for a long time. We learned how to live with the silence. We learned how to laugh again. And then, 5 years ago, Tamara came into our lives. She arrived with her own carefully built world, wrapped in sickly sweet perfume, layered in opinions that never wavered. She was confident, polished, and entirely different from what Emily and I were used to. Tamara didn't come alone. She had a daughter, Zoe, who was 12 when they moved in. I wanted to believe we could be one of those blended families you see in magazine ads, smiling, hugging, matching sweaters at Christmas. I truly tried. I thought we could build something new, something good, something balanced. But Emily and Zoe were oil and water. They didn't fight, not openly, not often. But they didn't connect either. Most of the time, they existed near each other like strangers forced to share space. They were polite, distant, tolerant at best. There was no warmth between them, no closeness. Every interaction felt like a silent negotiation, how to coexist without getting in each other's way. Still, I did my part. I made birthdays special for both girls, exactly the same. I made sure dinners were always together, whether they wanted to or not. Family vacations were non-negotiable. We went to the beach, to the mountains, to theme parks. I worked hard to create memories. I worked even harder to create fairness. And fairness, to me, meant planning for the future. Before Emily could even walk, her mother and I had promised to save for her education. Every spare dollar went into that fund, from birthday money to freelance jobs, from tax returns to skipped dinners out. I sacrificed. We both did. Because we wanted to give her a real future, one she didn't have to start with debt or fear. And when Tamara and Zoe moved in, I knew what I had to do. I opened a fund for Zoe too. It was smaller, newer, but it was something. I wanted her to have a foundation as well. It felt like the right thing to do. And I believed Tamara appreciated it, or at least respected it. Apparently, I was wrong. 2 weeks ago, I logged into Emily's college fund. It was something I did every few months, just a routine check. She had just turned 18, so she had limited access to the account now, enough to check her balance and move small amounts, but not enough to do anything drastic. I believed it was a good balance of trust and protection. I expected everything to look the same steady numbers, the same quiet reassurance that all the sacrifices had been worth it, all the missed vacations, all the nights I took on extra work. It was all for her. But something was off. The numbers didn't make sense. There was money missing. Not a little. Not 100 or two. $10,000. Gone. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. A glitch in the system. Maybe I had clicked the wrong thing. I refreshed the page. I logged out and back in. But nothing changed. $10,000 had disappeared. My hands started to sweat. My chest tightened. That was tuition money. That was textbooks and housing. That was a whole semester gone. I picked up my phone and called Emily. My hands were clammy, and I could feel my pulse in my throat. She answered quickly, her voice light, cheerful. She was making ramen with her roommate and laughing about some silly memory from the past. Her voice didn't match the moment. She had no idea what was coming. I asked her the question. Direct. Simple. Did you take money from your college fund? Then came silence. Not the kind of silence that means someone is confused. The kind that's heavy, that presses down on you like a weight. Her voice broke when she finally spoke. No, she said. She hadn't taken the money. But my heart dropped. She told me it was for Zoe. That Tamara had told her it was okay. That Tamara had made her promise not to say anything. Emily had trusted her. She had given Tamara the account number, the password. She had trusted her stepmother. And Tamara had used that trust to take from my daughter $10,000. Stolen, in secret, under the false promise of family. I don't remember what I said next. I don't even remember hanging up. The world just tilted under me. Everything I had worked for. Everything I had built. Undermined by someone who was supposed to be a partner. Someone who should have protected Emily's future alongside me. I just sat there, staring at the screen. Not moving. Not thinking clearly. Just blinking again and again, as if the number would correct itself if I stared hard enough. As if the universe might notice something had gone wrong and fix it on its own. But it didn't. The $10,000 were still gone. I pushed back from my desk in a daze. My fingers felt stiff. My chest was heavy. I marked myself on a break at work and slowly made my way downstairs, moving like someone who had forgotten how to walk properly. Every step felt strange. Tamara was sitting at the kitchen island, completely at ease. She was scrolling through her phone with one hand, a perfectly manicured fingertip tapping at the screen. In the other hand was a glass of Chardonnay, already half empty. She looked so calm, so serene, like she was enjoying a quiet evening not sitting in the middle of a wildfire she'd started. She didn't look up right away when I came in. Just kept scrolling, sipping, relaxed in her little bubble of peace. "We need to talk," I said. Still, she didn't look at me. "If it's about dinner," she said lightly. "I was thinking takeout. I'm just not in the mood to cook. But I'm keen on some Thai food." "It's not about dinner," I replied, trying to keep my voice even. "It's about Emily's college fund." That's when she finally looked up. Slowly, casually, like I was interrupting something mildly inconvenient. Her expression didn't change. No guilt. No surprise. Just a blank look, like this conversation was beneath her attention. "Oh, that," she said simply. I waited, giving her a moment to explain, to offer some kind of reason. But Tamara didn't flinch. She didn't even set down her wine. She took another sip instead. "You took $10,000, I said, without asking. "From my daughter's account. That's not a small mistake. What could have been so important that you'd do that behind my back?" Tamara exhaled slowly, as though I were being overly dramatic. "Zoe needed it," she said. "And I did ask, Nathan. I talked to Emily about it. It's her money anyway. She was fine with it. She didn't put up a fight. She wanted to share." She gave me a look I can only describe as uninterested. Almost bored, like I was the one creating a scene over something trivial. "Zoe needed 10 grand, I asked, staring at her. "For what?" "It's not like we stole it," she replied casually, lifting the glass again. "She's going to Australia. The supernatural convention, remember? She's been dreaming about this for years. Plane tickets, hotels, VIP passes, it adds up. And we're going shopping this weekend. She wants to get outfits for the trip." I just stood there, stunned. "She's going to a fan convention?" I said, the words flat in my mouth. "With college money? With Emily's college money? Are you insane?" Tamara rolled her eyes like I was being childish. "She had more than enough," she said. "Seriously, are you trying to make Emily a millionaire? What's 10,000 in the grand scheme of things?" And that's when something inside me snapped. Not loud. Not messy. It was quiet. Clean. Like a string pulled too tight finally giving way. "You didn't ask Emily," I said, my voice low. "You didn't ask me. You just took it, Tamara." "She's family," she replied, like it explained everything. "What's hers is Zoe's too." I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't have anything to say. I had plenty I could have said. But the words couldn't reach my mouth. My disbelief was too thick. Tamara looked at me like I was being ridiculous. Like I was overreacting to a minor inconvenience. Like this wasn't about betrayal, but about some paperwork issue. It's not like Emily's going to some Ivy, she added with a shrug. She's going to a state school. You said so yourself. And that makes her less worthy of the money? I asked, the weight of her words sinking in. Her mother and I planned that fund before she could even talk. It's important. It matters. She'll be fine, Tamara said, standing up now. She brushed off her dress like she was done with the conversation. God, you're so dramatic. But I wasn't dramatic. I was done. Something in me went still, not out of anger, but finality. A quiet closing of a door inside myself. A lock clicking into place. No shouting. No begging. Just stillness. I stood there, her words floating in the air, but they no longer touched me. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I had slipped into something colder, calmer. Survival mode. I hope Zoe enjoys the trip, I said quietly. Because she can forget about her college fund. Tamara froze. Her face changed. Her expression cracked for the first time. Just a flicker. Confusion. Maybe fear. What? She asked, blinking fast, her long lashes fluttering like fake wings. But I didn't say anything else. There was nothing more to explain. She had made a choice. And now, so had I. Oh, you heard me, I said quietly. I'm done paying for someone who thinks stealing is okay. That fund's closed. Tamara's face twisted with disbelief. Her voice rose into a shriek. Stop it, Nathan. You can't do that. I didn't flinch. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam my fist or throw anything across the room. I simply looked at her and spoke the truth. No, I said calmly. I can. And I will. I'm holding her accountable. And I'm holding you accountable. This is nonsense. The silence that followed was louder than any shouting could have been. It wrapped around the room, settled into the walls, and weighed down the air between us. Tamara grabbed her wine glass with a trembling hand and stormed up the stairs, heels clacking sharply against the hardwood. I stood there in the kitchen, alone, letting everything settle. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My heart wasn't racing. What I felt was something colder, quieter, a decision solidified in my chest. 10 minutes later, I heard fast, angry footsteps pounding down the stairs. Zoe appeared in the doorway, her face blotchy, her eyes red and wet, mascara trailing down her cheeks like black ink running from a page. She was furious, trembling with rage. You're so cruel, she screamed, her voice cracking under the weight of her tears. You know how much this meant to me, Nathan. I looked at her, really looked at her, and what I felt surprised me. It wasn't anger. It wasn't pity. It wasn't even frustration. It was emptiness. You didn't ask, I said. My voice was even. You just took. Mom said it was fine, she shouted, voice shrill and desperate. And you believed her, I replied. That's on you. You're almost an adult, Zoe. Why didn't you come to me? There's money in your own college fund. So why did it have to come from Emily's? Zoe opened her mouth to reply, but Tamara appeared again, stepping between us like a shield. Her tone was sharper now, defensive and dismissive all at once. We used Emily's fund because she has more, Tamara said, as though that settled the matter. You've only been adding to Zoe's for a few years. She needs to save it. Don't turn this into some war, Nathan. Please. Don't do that. I'm not turning this into anything, I said, shaking my head. I'm just done pretending this is a family. Tamara's eyes widened. Nathan, you always do this, I continued, cutting her off. You decide what's fair. You decide what's acceptable. I've watched you throw Emily under the bus again and again. And I've said nothing. I let things slide because Emily seemed okay. She never complained. She always found a way to move past it. I paused, the weight of my next words settling on my chest before I let them out. But this isn't something I can let go. Nathan, Tamara started again. No, I said, my voice firm. Don't. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't meant to prove anything. I just couldn't lie next to someone who'd betrayed me, who'd betrayed my daughter. So I took a pillow and a blanket and went to the guest room. The silence in the house wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that lingers. thick and tense. The kind that presses on you, settles into the walls, and waits. I didn't speak to Tamara. I didn't reply to Zoe's texts that pinged my phone throughout the night. Emily was staying with a friend, and as far as I knew, she didn't know what had happened yet. At least, not all of it. The next morning, the phone rang. It was Tamara's mother. She spoke softly, like she was trying to be the voice of reason. She told me she understood that mistakes were made. She offered to help repay the $10,000. Said they could figure something out, if only I'd consider the bigger picture. The bigger picture? As far as I was concerned, the bigger picture was this. My daughter had been robbed. Not just of money, but of trust. My wife had enabled it, and then acted like it was no big deal. That was the bigger picture. That weekend, Emily came home. She didn't walk in with questions. She didn't ask if things were okay. She already knew. The way she sat down on the couch, her hands folded neatly in her lap, told me she'd been updated. I was sure Zoe had texted her and explained, or spun, the whole story. Later that evening, I found Emily on the front porch, sitting alone on the old swing her mom used to love. The sun had already dipped behind the trees, and the shadows stretched long across the lawn. She was quiet, looking out into the yard. I handed her a slice of chocolate cake, her favorite, and sat beside her. The swing creaked beneath us, its rusted chain groaning a little under our combined weight. Even the house seemed to be holding its breath. "I didn't want to tell you, Dad," she whispered. "I didn't want you to be mad at me." I looked at her, really looked, and saw my little girl again. Not the 18-year-old preparing for college, but the kid who used to sleep with the hallway light on, just in case. The one who never wanted to cause trouble. The one who always put others first. "You didn't do anything wrong, Emmy," I said, using the name her mother always used. My voice was low, steady. Emily stared down at her lap, her fingers tightening around the plate. She looked at me like I was being selfish. For having it, I mean. They both asked to see the balance, and I'll never forget the look on their faces when they saw. Like I didn't deserve it. I didn't have words for that. There weren't any that would make it right. So I stayed beside her. Quiet. Phil. I felt something shift in my chest, a tightening, sharp and instinctive. Protective. It was the kind of feeling that takes hold when someone you love is hurting and can't say it out loud. Emily had never been one to ask for much. She'd always moved through life carefully, tiptoeing through situations, trying never to be a burden. She had learned, far too early, how to shrink herself, how to stay quiet so others could speak louder, how to occupy less space than she deserved. "You're not selfish, Em," I told her. She nodded, but it was that kind of nod people give when they're not sure they believe the words. The kind you offer when you want to appear strong, even when the ground beneath you doesn't feel steady. Her eyes didn't match the movement of her head. They were clouded with doubt, a kind of sadness she was trying hard not to show me. I reached over and took her hand. It was the same way I used to reach for her when she was small and frightened by thunder in the middle of the night. Back then, she'd curl into me like I was the only anchor in her world. Now, she was grown, 18. But the gesture still held weight. She squeezed my hand once, just enough to let me know she was still there, still trying, and then let go. The touch wasn't long or lingering. It was enough to steady herself, not enough to fall apart. "Eat that," I said, pointing to the slice of chocolate cake I had brought home the night before. "Your favorite." I went by the bakery after work. She gave me a small smile, picked up her fork, and said, "Thanks, Dad." 3 days later, Tamara cornered me in the kitchen. I had just come back from dropping off some paperwork at my office and hadn't even taken off my coat. She stood by the sink, freshly manicured hands resting on the counter. Her nails were red now, not the soft, pale pink she usually wore, but a deeper, bolder shade. The kind of red that stood out. The kind of red people wore when they were trying to make a point. Tamara's signature power move. Polished. Calculated. Ready for a fight. "Are we really going to let this ruin us?" she asked. Her tone was firm, but under it was something close to panic. "Over money?" I just stared at her. I didn't know how to respond at first. How could this be the same woman I had married? The same person I had once looked at and thought, yes, this is the one I'll rebuild my life with. I had shared a home, a bed, and 5 years of my life with her. But in that moment, she felt like a stranger wearing a familiar face. "It's not the money, Tam," I finally said. It's the principle. She looked at me, frustration rising in her eyes. You're acting like I killed someone. You betrayed my daughter, I said. That's a pretty big deal. Tamara stepped closer. Her voice dropped into something more serious. You need to know something, Nathan, she said, the words cutting. Emily is not the only one who matters. That stopped me cold. Not because I didn't understand what she meant, but because it confirmed what I had long suspected and feared. Emily didn't matter to her, not in the way Zoe did. Not in the way a stepdaughter should. She never had. I looked at her, really looked, and saw someone who had made promises she didn't intend to keep. Someone who had said she'd love my daughter like her own, but had never tried. Someone who had always seen Emily as convenient when things were easy, and invisible when they weren't. A stepdaughter in name only. A resource, a number on a bank screen. She matters to me, I said. She's my entire world. And that's enough. Tamara scoffed. Her posture stiffened. She was all polished fury now. All sharp edges and deflective pride. I can't believe you're doing this. That night, she left. Not for good, not yet. But she packed a bag, slammed a door, and told me I was heartless. Said I was destroying everything we'd built. But I didn't stop her. I didn't try to make her stay. There was nothing left to say. Some doors don't slam shut. They simply close slowly, and this one had been closing for a long time. Emily starts college in the fall. She still has enough in her fund. Just enough. The damage wasn't financial in the way most people would think. It was deeper. More personal. The kind of damage you can't write off or transfer. The kind that sits between people like broken glass, sharp and permanent. Trust, once broken, doesn't shine the same when you try to glue it back together. Zoe hasn't spoken to me since that day. Not a word. No texts. No apologies. Nothing but silence. And maybe that's what she feels I deserve. Or maybe Tamara told her her own version of the story, one where I'm the villain. Either way, I've made my peace with it. Tamara, on the other hand, sends texts that read more like reminders than messages. Cold, clipped lines about credit card payments or oil changes. Things about her car making a strange noise. Nothing personal. No warmth. No remorse. It's like we've become an old email thread, one neither of us wants to delete, but neither of us cares to open anymore. And me. I sit on that porch swing more often now. Even when it's cold, I find myself there, just listening to the wind and thinking. I replay the moment I saw the bank balance, the 10,000 gone. I see Emily's face when she found out. The guilt in her eyes. The way she cried that weekend, convinced she was the reason the family had split apart. I replay the shrug Tamara gave me, like she was tossing away a sweater she didn't like. No big deal. Just money. But I don't regret it. Not a second of it. I don't regret protecting my daughter. I don't regret choosing her. Some people would call that playing favorites. I call it doing right by the one person who's never once asked for more than what she was given.